The snow had already begun to fall when Emma Caldwell realized she was late, the kind of quiet, relentless snowfall that made the world feel hushed and heavy at the same time, like it was holding its breath. Christmas Eve lights shimmered along Main Street in Pine Ridge, Ohio, but Emma barely noticed them as she hurried toward the small cafe on the corner, her heart pounding with a mix of dread and fragile hope. She had almost canceled the blind date altogether, almost turned back when doubt whispered that she didn't belong in moments like this anymore. Yet something deeper had pushed her forward. She did not know it then, but that single decision, arriving late on a cold Christmas Eve, was about to change the course of her life in ways she never expected. Before the story continues, take a moment to pause right here. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when people show up despite fear, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Emma slipped into the cafe, cheeks flushed from the cold, her breath fogging the glass for a second before the warmth wrapped around her. The place smelled of cinnamon, pine garlands, and fresh coffee, and it was nearly empty except for a few lingering couples and an elderly man reading near the window. She scanned the room, unsure of what she was looking for, knowing only that the man she was meeting had been described as kind, quiet, and a single father. That alone had both intrigued and frightened her. After years of teaching elementary school and watching children leave her classroom at the end of each year, Emma had learned how deeply love could root itself without warning. She had also learned how painful it was to lose something you had never truly held. She spotted him near the back, sitting alone at a small table decorated with a flickering candle. He looked older than she had imagined, not in years but in the way his shoulders curved inward, as though he carried something heavy that never left him. His name was Daniel Harper, and when he looked up, there was a softness in his eyes that made Emma slow her steps. She could tell immediately that he had been waiting for a while, his coffee untouched, his hands folded together as if in prayer or restraint. Guilt washed over her, but before she could turn it into words, she sensed that this night was already shaped by more than just timing. Emma took her seat, trying to gather herself as the snow thickened outside the window. She had agreed to this blind date because her best friend insisted that Christmas Eve was exactly when lonely hearts needed courage. Emma had resisted at first, haunted by the quiet evenings spent alone in her apartment, by the echo of laughter she once imagined filling her home. She had wanted a family once, and when that dream faded with time, she learned to carry it quietly, folding it into her faith and her work, trusting that God understood the ache she rarely spoke aloud. Daniel, on the other hand, had not come alone to this season of life by chance. Though Emma did not yet know it, his journey to that cafe had been paved with long nights, hospital hallways, and promises whispered into the darkness. He was a single father to a little girl named Lily, and she was the reason his life moved according to careful routines and silent sacrifices. Lily was 7 years old and bright as the Christmas lights lining their modest home, but she lived with a rare heart condition that demanded constant attention. Daniel's world revolved around protecting her fragile strength, even when it meant setting his own hopes aside. As the evening unfolded, the cafe seemed to fade into the background, the glow of the tree in the corner casting soft reflections on the walls. Emma noticed Daniel's hands tremble slightly when he lifted his cup, noticed how his eyes drifted toward the door. Every few minutes, as though he were waiting for something more than just conversation. There was warmth between them, an unspoken understanding that both were carrying stories shaped by loss and resilience. Emma felt herself relax, surprised by how natural it felt to sit there, to share silence without discomfort, to sense another heart beating with similar caution. Outside, the snow fell heavier and church bells in the distance marked the hour. Christmas Eve had always been complicated for Emma, a night filled with candlelight services and whispered prayers, but also with an empty seat beside her in the pew. This year something felt different. She felt present, grounded, aware of the moment rather than lost in regret. Yet just as hope began to take shape, something shifted. Daniel's face paled, and his posture stiffened, as if a sudden weight had pressed against his chest. The secret he carried could no longer remain hidden. His phone vibrated softly on the table, and though Emma did not see the screen, she sensed the urgency in the way his breath caught. In that moment, Daniel realized he could not pretend to be just another man on a blind date. His life was woven with responsibility, fear, and fierce love, and anyone who stepped into it would have to accept all of it. He had come tonight hoping for connection, but also knowing that honesty might cost him everything. Emma watched him carefully, her heart tightening as she felt the air change between them. She thought of her students, of the children who clung to her hand on the first day of school, afraid of being left behind. She thought of the quiet strength it took to show up for someone else every day. Whatever Daniel was carrying, she sensed it was not small, and instead of pulling away, she felt herself lean in emotionally, ready to listen with the same compassion she offered so freely to others. Daniel revealed the truth of his life not with drama but with humility, the kind that comes from loving someone more than oneself. He spoke of Lily, of hospital visits and late-night prayers, of learning how fragile and beautiful life could be at the same time. He admitted that coming tonight felt selfish and necessary all at once, that he had almost stayed home but wanted to believe that joy was still allowed to find him. Emma listened, her eyes stinging with unshed tears, not from pity but from recognition. She understood sacrifice, understood what it meant to love without guarantees. The cafe lights dimmed as closing time approached, and snow piled against the windows like a promise of silence. Emma felt something shift inside her, a door she had kept closed for years creaking open. She realized that the secret Daniel carried was not a burden she needed to fear, but a testament to the depth of his heart. In his vulnerability, she saw courage. In his love for his daughter, she saw the kind of devotion she had always prayed existed. They left the cafe together, stepping into the cold night where snowflakes clung to their coats and eyelashes. The town square glowed with a massive Christmas tree, its lights reflecting off the white ground like stars fallen to earth. Emma felt the familiar ache of longing, but this time it was accompanied by something else, something steadier. She felt purpose stirring, the sense that her life, with all its quiet waiting, had prepared her for moments like this. Daniel walked her to her car, his breath visible in the air, his shoulders still carrying the weight of responsibility but standing a little straighter now. Emma realized that being late tonight had not been a mistake. It had allowed the night to unfold slowly, honestly, without the rush of expectations. It had given space for truth to surface, for two guarded hearts to recognize each other. Christmas Eve ended not with fireworks or dramatic declarations, but with something far more powerful. Emma drove home through snow-lined streets, her heart full in a way it hadn't been in years. She attended the late-night church service alone, but when she lit her candle, the flame felt brighter, steadier. She prayed not for answers, but for courage, for guidance, for the wisdom to recognize love when it arrived in unexpected forms. In the weeks that followed, Emma and Daniel's lives began to intertwine gently, carefully. She met Lily, whose smile carried both innocence and bravery, and Emma felt something settle into place inside her. She learned how to sit in hospital waiting rooms without fear, how to celebrate small victories, how to love without conditions. Daniel learned that he did not have to carry everything alone. That strength could also look like accepting help. If this story has touched your heart, if you have ever felt late to your own happiness or afraid to open the door to something new, please take a moment now to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who may need hope tonight. And before the ending, here is a special request. Please comment below with the word hope if you believe that love can arrive, exactly when we need it most, even when we think we are too late. On the following Christmas Eve, Emma stood beside Daniel and Lily in the same town square, the snow falling just as softly. The tree lights glowed above them, and for the first time, Emma did not feel the ache of an empty place. She felt gratitude. Life had not followed the path she once imagined, but it had led her somewhere deeper, richer, and more meaningful. Sometimes, being late is not a failure at all. Sometimes, it is the only way to arrive exactly where you are meant to be.